What's up, everybody? Welcome to day one of the Kármán line event. So, first off, what is the reason why you are here? We're going to be talking about entering your trailblazer era and stepping into 2025 with more success than you have ever had before. So, uh, as an entrepreneur, we are always looking for ways to grow, and there is so much going on in our world today, and a lot of people feel overwhelmed. I've talked to a lot of different entrepreneurs who are either clients, they're in masterminds, they are in other communities that I pay to be a part of. And one of the common things that I hear is that people are overwhelmed. Part of it is they're overwhelmed with opportunity, which is a good thing in some ways, but they're overwhelmed because they want to do so much. And sometimes people feel like they are struggling to keep up with the next person. I know there's been a lot of it's very easy to compare when you're an entrepreneur to look at yourself and where you're at versus where somebody else is at. And stop sharing here. And so that comparison can really get to us. And I'm going to show you a way to get out of that and not worry and not have that be a point of friction for you. So people are feeling overwhelmed. They're also feeling like they're falling behind. So when it comes to AI, there is so much. There is AI generation for art and graphics, for video, for customer service bots. People are now using it for voice so that it can take your phone call when you're ordering a pizza. People are using it for copywriting, for writing books, for building brands. There are so many uses for AI. And the godfather of AI, Jeffrey Hinton himself, was saying, even I can't keep up with this. So it's too much for any one person to keep up with it. And so what the solution for that is to come together. We need to be a part of a system and a network, a human network that connects people together so that we can shortcut our learning and really understand the highlights and best information that we need to know from a particular person or group who goes really deep into something. So for example, I just recently hired someone to help me write a book with AI and show me the process that they developed to do that successfully. Instead of me going and figuring all that out, I've used that process and now I've created and completed a book. How cool is that? Okay. So all of these things that we are seeking as entrepreneurs, there's something we've never done before. And to me, that's what I call a trailblazer. So the community I'm building, you can find it at trailblazers.ai, is a community of people who want to do good and make money by leveraging the power of AI. That might mean you're an executive coach. That might mean you're a pharmacist. That might mean you're a tax consultant. That might mean that you are an interior designer. Every one of us who owns a business and is in business can leverage AI for greater positive impact in your life. So, the Kármán line, this whole event is all about crossing your Kármán line. I'll tell you what that is to become a trailblazer. So, in scientific terms, there is a term where people delineate the difference between Earth's atmosphere and outer space. And that's what the Kármán line is. So if you saw that picture on the intro when we started this call, that boundary of, leaving Earth's atmosphere to become an astronaut, to enter into space, it is the line that scientists use and the aviation uses to say when you've crossed that threshold. And my invitation to you today and over the next coming days, and throughout all of what I'm doing in my business, is to invite you to enter your trailblazer era. Now, here's what that means it means that I invite you to rethink the way you look at life, to rethink the way you think, because I believe that those are the tools. Perspective is such a powerful tool for us to use in order to improve where we are at. So we're gonna go through an exercise that I absolutely love to shift your perspective, and I've done this before. So there was one time when I was, I think it was 2 years ago, I wanted to expand my business, and I was really struggling to figure out how I might do that. And one of the things I did is I went for a drive, and I grabbed my phone, and I turned on my Otter.ai. So Otter is a transcription tool that connects with Zoom. It connects just on your phone so you can speak to it and it will transcribe what you're saying. So I went for a drive and I have a friend whose father is a billionaire. And the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was kind of thinking about it like that. I said, what would my friend's dad say to me about my aspirations for building my business and my plans for building my business? Because it would be very different than what my dad would say or what a coach on the internet would say. So on this drive, I sat down and I had this conversation with my friend's dad, but it was all figurative. I was talking to myself basically, and I was putting myself in this mindset to see things from his perspective. And doing so changed everything for me. I remember saying, I'd really like to build $1 million business. Is that okay? Almost asking permission. And the response was, why only 1 million? And I remember last year I was at an event in Newport Beach, and it was a probably the most fancy, coolest event I have ever been to. It was uh it was quite a hefty price ticket in order to get in. And there was a dress code for each of the days that we were there. So one day was like nautical casual, and one day was white, kind of a white and khakis. And um, so anyway, I remember making a friend with one of the speakers who I had seen up on stage, and I was chatting with him, and then a group kind of formed around us, and we were talking about business. And this friend that I had met said, "Yeah, I've got a couple businesses. One of them is really small." And the words that proceeded out of his mouth after that sentence blew me away. Okay. He said, yeah, this business I've got's pretty small. I think it's doing about $80 million a year. I was like, 80 million? That's a big business. What are you talking about? I thought that that was a big business. But here's the thing. It's all just a matter of perspective, right? Elon Musk would not say that $80 million is a big business. That would be a small business. So we have to remember that you and I are constantly looking through a lens that is specific to us. And when we can become aware of what that lens is, it helps us to see things we've never seen before. So if you are feeling stuck or overwhelmed or frustrated or like you're just not quite getting where you want to go, my recommendation is to slow down and take a look at what your perspective might be. Okay. And here's an exercise for how you can do that. I want you to consider one person that you completely admire who has success beyond your wildest imagination, someone who you look up to, someone you admire, someone you say, whoa, that person is just incredibly successful. Maybe this is someone like Jeff Bezos, who created Amazon. Maybe this is Elon Musk, who has done, who knows what, just an unbelievable amount of things. Maybe this is someone like Benjamin Franklin, who's not alive right now. Okay, but I want you to take that person and hold them in your mind. And then I want you to take a piece of paper and you can pause this video. I want you to write down the top 3 problems that are frustrating you the most right now, specific to your business. Okay. I wish I had this. I wish I didn't have this. What are those top 3 things that just consume you right now and you're thinking about and you want those to be solved? Okay. So write those questions down. Now, I want you to write down 3 things you've done to try to solve those problems. Okay. So the first thing you'll have is 1, 2, 3. Here are my problems that I'm experiencing. Okay. Below that, you're going to write another 1, 2, and 3. These are going to be the solutions that you've tried to implement. Okay. So go ahead and pause the video and write down 3 ways you have tried to solve one or more of the problems that you first listed. Okay. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to write another 1, 2, 3. And what I want you to do is I want you to consider, how would my person that I chose look at these problems? How would they think about solving those problems? What would they be doing differently? What would they not be doing about this? Maybe who would they be involving with this? This exercise is really powerful because it can begin to show us the things that we cannot currently see through our lens, through our perspective. And it's only when we can get outside of that perspective that we can begin to solve problems in a different mindset than in the mindset that they were made. Okay. And this to me is what trailblazing is all about. Trailblazing is about going somewhere that you have never been before. Yes, it can also be about doing something that no one has ever done before. Like when we went to the moon and decided we're going to put a man on the moon and bring him safely back to Earth. That was something that had never been done, and we made it happen. That was the ultimate example of trailblazing. But you and I, we may or may not become astronauts. We may or may not become the next Elon Musk. We may or may not do something that's never been done before. But what I do know is that those of us who are entrepreneurs wanting to create success that we have never had will have to do things we have never done. We will have to trailblaze. In addition, I believe that because of AI and the cultural shift, the technology shift, the business shift, the seismic shift that's happened because of AI, you and I are required to adapt or die. If we do not adapt, we will be left behind. Our standards of excellence will become standards of mediocrity, and we will not like the results that we have. And so, this is a test for how you and I are able to adapt, how you and I are able to change and think about things differently. It's about our willingness to see things from a different perspective. So, this exercise right here is a fabulous way for you to begin to shift the way you think and look at things. Okay. Now, there's one other thing I wanted to address in today's call, and that is the idea that impossible goals, such as sending a man to the moon and bringing him safely back to Earth before the end of the decade, something that seems completely impossible is actually the most practical goal that you could set. Okay. That sounds crazy when you hear it because it's kind of oxymoronic. It's counterintuitive. But I'm going to show you something that I think proves that that is true. Now, I first heard this from Benjamin Hardy. He is a fabulous author, a fabulous thought leader who has worked with Strategic Coach and written multiple books. And so let me show you something that I learned from him here. Use a cool little device that it's going to let you guys see my notebook here. So when we set a small goal, okay, when we set I'm just going to call it a marginal goal. Okay. You know, we set our sights here. Let's say here's our starting point, right? Okay. So how many options, each of these lines is going to represent our ability to go from here, you know, past our goal point. And all of these different options are paths, you know, that we could take. Okay. Some of the paths we take are gonna, we're gonna fall a little bit short. Some of the paths we're gonna take are gonna get us right around our goal that we've set. We have lots of options. But what if we decide instead to set an impossible goal? Something where we literally have no idea how to make it happen. So a marginal goal may be, I want to add $100,000 in this next quarter to my revenue. Okay. Um, if you're Elon Musk, your marginal goal, I don't know. Maybe it's double the amount of Teslas I'm selling or catch another rocket, right? Okay, but when we create these impossible goals up here, um, the one that I love that Ben Hardy uses, he said, um, he has a son who plays tennis. And the son was saying, I'd really like to get into college. I'd like to play college. And he said, well, why aren't you going for pro? And he's like, no way, Dad. There's no way I can, be up here and play pro. I'm just going to play college. And he said, no, 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 wait a minute. Let's think about this. What if we set a goal for you to go pro in tennis? Okay. There are so many fewer options. In this diagram, there's literally 1, 2, 3 options. There's 3 paths, possible paths that might get you to your impossible goal. Now, there's maybe a dozen or more paths that could get you to your marginal goal here. And so by setting impossible goals, what it does is it requires us to not even look at the options that are down here and instead find higher quality pathways for us to achieve our goal. When I saw Ben Hardy talk about this, I thought this was such an incredible concept that it allows us to find higher quality ways for us to go and achieve the things that matter most to us. Um, Let me get back to my screen. There we go. So, setting an impossible goal stretches you in the way that you think. It requires you to bring in other people to help you succeed. It requires you to put on a different lens and think differently about the way that you might achieve that goal. One of the things that Ben Hardy had talked about was, I know he's been working on a book, and in selling that book, he wanted to have a certain number of pre-sales, and he said something like, it'd be fabulous if I had 30,000 pre-sales of this book. And he said, that's insane. I have never done that much before. There's no one I know that's ever done 30,000 pre-sales of a book before it's launched. And then later he said, you know what? Hold on. That's not impossible. 1 million pre-sales is impossible. There's no way. There is no way. But then he started thinking differently. Like, wait a minute. How could I go and get an organization that has 100,000 people and get them to purchase a copy of every single a copy of my book for every single person in the organization? In one fell swoop, he could take care of that 30,000 goal simply by looking at things with a different perspective. So I encourage you not to be afraid of this exercise, but to rather give it space and give yourself the creativity and the space to think about things differently. I think too often we are unwilling and we shut down the opportunity, simply the opportunity to think outside the box, to think different, to be creative, to wonder and to play and to imagine what if. Okay. And this is really, it's not beneficial to us. And it's so ironic because every time somebody types into Midjourney to create an image, it starts off by saying, imagine. What if we as humans started doing that too? And rather than just prompting AI to imagine, we prompted ourselves to imagine. I think that this would make for a much better world that we live in, filled with a future that we're excited about, that brings people together, that creates solutions, not more problems, and is a fabulous way to live. So I hope you're on board for that. If you are, let me know. I would love to know what your thoughts are and how you've been navigating AI in a world where it's very easy to be overwhelmed and to feel like you're getting left behind. And if you'd like to join me inside of my Trailblazers community, you can subscribe at trailblazers.ai. We create weekly conversations with leaders and thought leaders and business owners and entrepreneurs around the topics of AI and focusing on the things that matter most to us. And for the people who are my audience, it's to do good and make money. So I invite you there. Thank you for being here with me today, and I will see you next time.